He's not even a real man. He just exists. I heard her say that as I was walking back from the bathroom. She didn't know I was behind the column. She didn't see me stop. But I stood there, perfectly still, with a plate of overpriced grilled zucchini in my hands, and listened as the woman I'd been married to for nearly 5 years absolutely shredded me in front of her friends. No one defended me. No one even looked uncomfortable. Just laughter, soft and sharp, like it was rehearsed. She cries if I raise my voice, she continued. Like a puppy. I swear, I fake smiled at him once during intimacy, and he wrote me a poem. They howled. One of them actually snorted wine. I didn't walk back to the table. Not yet. I just leaned against that cold stone column and stared at the floor, feeling like I was watching my own humiliation on a screen I couldn't turn off. There was a mirror on the wall behind the bar. I looked into it and barely recognized the guy in the reflection. Wrinkled collar. Pale face. The expression of someone who's already decided not to fight back. When I finally sat down, she didn't even flinch. Just passed me a napkin like I was a child who'd made a mess and said, "Try not to drop this one, yeah?" Everyone laughed again. I didn't. But someone else didn't either. Her friend, Maureen. The quiet one. The one who hadn't said much all night. She was watching me. Not with judgment, with conflict. Like she was weighing a decision. 10 minutes later, as everyone fawned over the dessert menu like it was scripture, she leaned in and whispered, "You need to come outside with me. Right now." I blinked. Sorry. Her voice didn't change. "If I tell you here, she'll lie her way out of it. If you come with me, I'll show you everything." And suddenly, I didn't care about the dessert, or the laughter, or the zucchini, or anything else. Because the look in Maureen's eyes said one thing very clearly. There's something your wife never told you, and it's worse than anything you're imagining. I followed Maureen outside, but not like someone who was brave or decisive. No, I followed her the way you follow a fire alarm, confused, disoriented, not knowing if it's a real emergency or just a test you're going to regret reacting to. We didn't go far. Just around the corner of the restaurant where the string lights stopped and the music faded into a buzz. There was an alley back there, narrow and dim, where the kitchen staff probably smoked on breaks. A few trash bins, one flickering wall light, and Maureen, standing like she'd done this before, like she'd pulled a man out of delusion more than once. She didn't waste time. "She doesn't love you," she said flatly. "She talks about you like you're a pet, like you're this harmless thing she has to feed." I swallowed. It was one of those moments where your mouth goes dry, but your palms turn to water. My heart was pounding in a way I hadn't felt since high school track. But this wasn't adrenaline. This was dread. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out her phone. I didn't plan to do this tonight. I told myself I'd stay out of it. But after what she said in there, after the fork and the poem thing, she hesitated. "You deserve the truth, Clint." I didn't say anything. Just nodded. Barely. My throat wouldn't work right. She unlocked her phone, scrolled a bit, and then turned the screen toward me. A text thread. Not with me. With someone named Tasha. A name I vaguely remembered. One of Ramona's old clients or gym friends. Blonde. Loud. Always smelled like tangerines and sweat. I never liked her. The messages started innocently enough. Memes, gossip, workout photos. But then it shifted. "Ramona, he's so damn pathetic. Literally told me he was proud of how I handled the electrician situation. Loudly crying face like, okay, Clint, would you like a medal for surviving basic adulthood?" Tasha. OMG, stop face with tears of joy. Ramona. He wrote me a haiku because I said I was tired. A freaking haiku. I want to cheat just to balance the universe. Tasha. LMAO girl, don't threaten me, with a good time smirking face. Ramona. Too late smiling face with horns. Tasha. Wait FR. Ramona. Let's just say the yoga retreat had. Flexibility face blowing a kiss. My stomach dropped. Maureen pulled the phone back slowly, like she didn't want to keep showing it. Like she already felt guilty for letting me see any of it at all. "I know it's not my place," she said, quieter now. "And I know it's not solid proof, but," she said more. "Worse. To all of us. Behind your back. For months. I've stayed quiet because I thought it was just venting. But tonight? Tonight felt cruel. Like she wanted to humiliate you. And I couldn't watch it happen anymore." I leaned against the brick wall, my head spinning. The sounds from the restaurant seemed far away now, like they belonged to another world. My marriage, my life, was starting to feel like a very elaborate joke that I was the last person in on. Why are you telling me this? I finally managed to say. Maureen's eyes didn't flinch. Because I've been cheated on. Because I know what it feels like to be lied to while everyone else just lets it happen. And because you looked like you were about to break in there. Like you didn't know if you were crazy or just invisible. She paused. You're not crazy. And you're definitely not invisible. I didn't cry. Not yet. But I felt something inside me loosen, like a knot that had been strangling me for years without me noticing. She took a step back and added, you can go back in there if you want. Pretend nothing's wrong. But if you do, she'll know she still owns you. So ask yourself, do you want her to fear losing you? Or do you want her to feel safe humiliating you again next weekend? Then she turned and walked away, back toward the restaurant entrance, her heels clicking against the pavement like punctuation marks on a sentence I hadn't finished reading. And I just stood there, in the alley, surrounded by trash bins and the smell of burnt garlic, wondering if the worst part of this night had already happened, or if the worst was yet to come. I didn't walk back into that restaurant right away. I stood out there like a man frozen in wet cement, letting Maureen's words echo in my skull, while every part of me fought the same exhausting battle. Stay quiet. Don't make waves. Be the bigger person. That voice, the weak one, was loud in my head, the same one that's let people walk all over me since middle school. But something else was starting to grow too. Something that sounded a lot more like screw that. When I finally pushed open the heavy glass door and stepped back into the restaurant, I could feel it instantly, like the air had shifted. Or maybe I had. I wasn't sure if it was me seeing everything differently, or if they'd actually changed in the 15 minutes I'd been gone. But as I made my way back to the table, no one looked up. Not even Ramona. She was showing her phone to everyone now, laughing at some video with that breathy, overdone laugh she uses when she wants attention. She saw me, I know she did, but she didn't even pause. Just turned slightly in her chair and angled her back toward me like I was some awkward +1 they couldn't get rid of. I sat down quietly, hands trembling, heart slamming against my ribs. I wasn't sure what I was planning to do. I didn't have a grand speech or a dramatic outburst in mind. I just wanted to see. I wanted to observe, really observe, now that the curtain had been yanked back and I wasn't blinded by whatever twisted version of love I thought this was. Then I noticed something strange. The waiter came by to clear our plates, and as he picked up mine, something fluttered out from underneath. At first, I thought it was just the edge of a napkin or a receipt someone dropped. But then I saw handwriting, tight and slanted, in black ink. I reached down and snatched it before anyone noticed. Slipped it into my lap, unfolded it under the table, hands slick with sweat. There were only 6 words on it. You're not the only one, Clint. That was it. No name. No signature. No explanation. Just that one cryptic sentence, scribbled in rushed handwriting like the author didn't want to be caught writing it. I looked around the table, suddenly aware of everything. Of glances exchanged. Of how her friend Petra avoided eye contact with me. Of how Ramona was holding her wine glass with both hands like she was nervous. The tension in her shoulders. The way she kept tapping her foot beneath the table. You good? She asked suddenly, without looking at me. Yeah, I said quietly. Just had to clear my head. She smirked. Hopefully you didn't lose what little you had left. Another snicker from the table. A few polite laughs. I looked down at the note again. You're not the only one. Did that mean she was cheating on me with someone at the table? Or did it mean someone else here had also been betrayed? Was Maureen not the only one who knew something? And then it hit me. Maureen didn't sit next to me. She wasn't even close enough to slip a note under my plate, which meant someone else had written it. Someone else at that table was trying to tell me something, without saying it out loud. I folded the note and stuffed it into my sock, heart racing in a whole new direction now. Whatever game was being played here, I was finally starting to see the board. And I had this sharp, nauseating feeling that things were about to spiral far faster than I was ready for. I looked around the table one more time, locking eyes with Petra. She looked away too quickly, too guilty. My stomach twisted. Was she the one who wrote the note? Or was she hiding something else? The dinner was dragging, but not in the usual way. Not in the, oh, this is taking too long, way. More like the way time slows down right before a crash. I sat there pretending to eat, pretending to laugh, pretending I wasn't watching every blink, every smirk, every pause too long to be innocent. The note in my sock felt like it was burning through the fabric. My knee bounced under the table, and I started replaying every conversation over the past few months. Every night Ramona came home late. Every yoga retreat. Every weird defensive moment about texts she'd accidentally deleted. And that's when the bag caught my eye. Ramona had placed her purse, a black quilted designer thing with gold chains, on the chair beside her. I'd seen it 1,000 times, never thought twice about it. But now it looked different to me. Heavier. Slightly unzipped. Like it was waiting to be looked inside. And I know how that sounds. I know what you're thinking, that I'm crossing a line, that snooping is wrong, that if you have to go through someone's bag, you've already lost. But at that moment, I wasn't a husband anymore. I wasn't even a man. I was just a puzzle piece floating in a box someone else had dumped out, trying desperately to see where I fit. I waited until she stood up to go to the bathroom, laughing at something Petra said as she walked away, hair bouncing, perfectly composed. And the second she turned the corner, I moved. Quick, quiet. I reached over and slid her purse onto my lap like I'd done it 100 times. The others were deep in conversation, tipsy and careless. I kept my head down, unzipped the bag slowly, and felt around inside with practiced calm, even though my heart was thudding like a kick drum. First, makeup bag, keys, gum, sunglasses. Nothing unusual. Then, a second phone. Not hers. Not our phone. A slim, matte black burner phone. No case, no stickers, no charm hanging off the side like her real one. Just, plain, hidden in a side pocket under an old receipt. My fingers went cold. I pulled it out and held it under the table. The screen was locked, of course, numeric passcode. I stared at it, trying to guess. Her birthday? No. Too obvious. Our anniversary? Doubt it. She barely remembered that herself. I tried 4 digits anyway. 1-1-2-2. Denied. Then 0-7-0-4. Denied. I was about to give up when I saw a small red mark on the corner of the screen. Lipstick. The same color she'd been wearing tonight. It was smeared in a pattern, like maybe she had answered a call with her face pressed too hard against the screen. At first I ignored it, but then I tilted the phone, squinting. The smudge had 2 very distinct pressure points. Thumb-sized. Diagonal. Like she'd been holding it vertically in one hand. That's when it clicked. The smudge was shaped exactly like her pin. For fingers. Diagonal swipe. Index top left, ring bottom right. So I guessed. 2-5-8-0. Click. It unlocked. I didn't breathe. I just stared. No wallpaper. Just a black screen. No saved contacts. No apps, except for messaging, camera, and gallery. All factory default. It was like a phone that didn't want to exist. I opened messages first. Nothing in the inbox. But in deleted messages, buried beneath layers of cached junk, were conversations, 3, to be exact. All with numbers saved under initials, D, R, and one unnamed. I clicked on the unnamed one first. It only had 2 messages. Unknown, same hotel. Ramona, parking garage this time. I'll meet you inside. My stomach churned. The timestamp was from 2 days ago. I was about to open the second thread when I felt someone's hand on my shoulder. Clint. I jerked so hard I nearly dropped the phone. It was Maureen. Her voice was low, serious. You need to put that away. Right now. I froze, trying to figure out if she was angry or scared. Her eyes weren't on me. They were looking past me, toward the hallway where the bathrooms were. She's coming, she whispered. Without thinking, I dropped the phone back into the purse, zipped it up, slid it to the empty chair, and sat up straight like a kid caught cheating on a test. Ramona returned seconds later, beaming. Miss me? She asked, brushing imaginary lint off her shoulder as she sat down. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I was too busy feeling my pulse in my ears. But Maureen leaned in closer and said under her breath, There's more you need to see. But not here. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Maureen had known about the second phone. She hadn't just been guessing. I didn't even finish dinner. I think someone asked if I wanted to split the dessert, some overcomplicated lavender mousse that looked like insulation foam, but I couldn't focus on a single word. My hands were still trembling under the table from holding that second phone. Every time Ramona glanced at me, I felt like she somehow knew, like she could smell suspicion on me. She had this sickening way of smiling, just the corners of her mouth, that made it impossible to tell if she was bored, amused, or 2 seconds from going for the throat. Maureen didn't say another word. She just gave me a look, a very specific look, one that said, now. So I stood up, muttered something about needing air, and followed her out without saying goodbye to anyone. Not even my wife. Especially not my wife. I caught a glimpse of Petra's expression as I left, a flash of regret, maybe? Guilt? I couldn't tell. It vanished too fast. But it lingered with me as Maureen led me down the stairs and out the side door, into the dark side street where the restaurant's valet guys were standing around vaping and ignoring customers. Maureen didn't stop walking. She kept going, across the lot, past the valet stand, into the parking structure next door. Every footstep echoed louder than it should have, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. We didn't speak until we were on the second level, hidden between two empty rows. That's when she finally turned to face me. I didn't want to do it this way, she said, voice low. I thought if I dropped hints, if I gave you just enough, you'd start seeing it for yourself. But now, after what you just saw, you deserve the whole thing. I didn't ask questions. I couldn't. I was too afraid of what the answers might be. She took out her phone, unlocked it, and opened her photo gallery. No hesitation this time. No build-up. Just tapped a folder called Ramona, April, and turned the screen toward me. At first, it looked like nothing. Just a blurry photo of someone walking across a hotel lobby. But then I looked closer. The woman in the image had her hair up in that messy knot Ramona always did when she didn't want to try. She was wearing the black leather jacket I bought her last Christmas, the one she claimed made her look too biker girlfriend. But she'd clearly worn it here, in this picture. And she wasn't alone. Next to her, arms slung casually around her lower back, was a man I'd never seen before. Late 30s, tall, beard, wearing a navy peacoat. His head was turned slightly away, but it was obvious. They were close. Very close. His hand wasn't resting on her waist. It was gripping it. I couldn't speak. I just stared at the image, numb. That was April 14th, Maureen said. She told you she was at her cousin's baby shower that weekend, right? I nodded slowly. She was at the Mayfield Hotel for 2 nights. Room 612. I didn't want to know the details, but Petra and I followed her. She doesn't know. No one else does. Petra. I blinked. Petra followed her too. Maureen's expression darkened. You don't get it yet, Clint. This isn't just about you. Petra and Ramona used to be close. Really close. Until Petra found out who Ramona was messing with. I stared at her. The guy in the picture? No, Maureen said. Someone else. And just like that, my brain couldn't keep up. Every sentence opened a new door. Every answer raised more questions. There wasn't just one affair. There were layers. Levels. Lies built on top of lies. So many I couldn't even tell where the bottom was anymore. I handed her phone back slowly, my fingers numb. Why didn't Petra say anything tonight? Because she's afraid of Ramona, Maureen replied. We all are in our own ways. But you? You're the only one who still has something to lose. And you're the only one who can end this. I looked around the empty garage, blinking back whatever emotion was trying to claw its way to the surface. It was all too much. The note under the plate. The second phone. The hotel. The man. Petra. And now Maureen dropping bombshells like it was a casual Tuesday night. I need proof, I said quietly. Hard proof. Something she can't talk her way out of. Maureen nodded. I can get it. But it's not going to be pretty. And in that moment, standing in a cold parking garage under flickering fluorescent lights, I realized that whatever marriage I thought I was fighting for, it didn't exist anymore. But the truth? That was still out there. And I was finally ready to dig it out, even if it buried me in the process. It took Maureen less than 24 hours to get what she promised, but those hours dragged across my mind like rusted nails. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to Ramona, staring at the ceiling while she scrolled on her phone, giggling every so often at whatever meme or message or secret she was keeping from me. Every sound she made felt sharp, deliberate, taunting. At one point she even nudged me and said, "You've been weird all night. You okay?" I muttered something about work and she nodded, not even pretending to care. Just rolled over and pulled the blanket tighter around herself. I stared at her back for what felt like hours. The weight of everything I knew, or thought I knew, was now suffocating. By morning, I was a ghost in my own house. She left early for a class. The same one she always said ran late on Tuesdays. The one I now suspected was code for anything but yoga. I watched her leave through the blinds like some washed-up detective in a movie, gripping a coffee mug with shaking hands. Maureen texted me just after noon. Meet me. Same spot. Bring headphones. By the time I got to the parking garage, she was already waiting. This time, no hesitation. No small talk. She handed me her phone and motioned for me to put in the earbuds. Just listen, she said. You need to hear it yourself. The audio was grainy at first. Background noise. Some light traffic. Then footsteps. And then voices. Ramona's voice, unmistakable, low and confident. The voice she used when she didn't know people were listening. She was laughing, but it wasn't her normal laugh. This was softer, flirtier, intimate. God, you always smell like sawdust and bad ideas, she said. A man chuckled. That's what you like, right? She laughed again, a little louder. I like that you're not him. Silence. Then kissing. Wet, drawn-out kissing. I felt ball crawl up my throat. Ramona again, whispering. He still thinks we're working through stuff. He's actually trying. It's adorable. Another pause. I give it another month. 2 max. I'm not going to babysit him forever. The audio clicked off. I didn't realize my hands had clenched into fists until Maureen gently took the phone away. I just stood there, breathing like I'd run a mile, vision tunneling. I wanted to vomit, cry, scream. Instead, I stood still, absolutely still, because now I had confirmation. I had truth. I had her voice saying the things I feared most. Not just betrayal, contempt, mockery, like I wasn't a person anymore, like I was a problem to manage, a pet to put down. I recorded that 3 weeks ago, Maureen said softly. They meet behind the hardware store near Ellis. She thinks it's low-key. He works there part-time. She said she likes how blue-collar it feels. Whatever the hell that means. I was shaking, but not from sadness anymore. This wasn't heartbreak. It was disgust. Years of small humiliations, of quiet disrespect, of invisible wounds finally calcifying into something else entirely. Clarity. And rage. She's planning to leave me, I muttered. She's already decided. Maureen didn't say anything. She didn't need to. But not yet, I continued. Not until she's sure he wants her. Or until I catch on. She wants to control the exit. Leave on her terms. Maureen nodded. And ruin you on the way out, if it helps her narrative. I sat down on the cold concrete, my head spinning. It wasn't just the affair. It was the calculated dismantling of who I was. The way she weaponized my softness, my loyalty, my need to believe in her. She wasn't cheating because she was unhappy. She was cheating because she enjoyed the control, because I was predictable, because she knew I wouldn't fight back. Clint, Maureen said suddenly, crouching beside me. There's more. I looked at her, barely breathing. She's not just planning to leave you. She's already moved money. Quietly. From your shared accounts. She's setting you up to look like the bitter one. The obsessive husband. I think she wants you to lose everything. Not just the marriage. That did it. Something inside me snapped. Not violently. Not loud. But definitively. I stood up, calmer than I'd felt in weeks. Maybe years. I looked Maureen in the eyes. Then we're going to beat her at her own game. She blinked. What does that mean? It means, I said, my voice steady. We don't confront her. Not yet. We let her think she's still in control. And then, when she's right where she wants to be, we take everything back. I never imagined myself as the kind of guy who could pull off something secretive. I'm not slick. I'm not cool. I once got caught lying to a server about not wanting onions because I'm allergic, and immediately broke out in a nervous rash when she offered to get the chef. But something changed after I heard that recording. Something cracked open, and what poured out wasn't panic. It was purpose. I finally stopped trying to fix a marriage that had been dead behind my back for a long, long time. Maureen and I made a quiet pact that day. Gather everything, document everything, move without being noticed. We weren't talking revenge. We were talking survival. And it turns out, when you're done pretending to be loved, you're capable of seeing the world with terrifying clarity. The first thing I did was go through our financials, not just bank accounts, but everything. Credit card statements, Venmo, cloud backups. It took hours, but I found what she thought she had hidden. Over the past 6 months, Ramona had been siphoning little amounts, $200 here, $500 there, into a separate account listed under her maiden name. It wasn't the money itself that hit me in the gut, it was the pattern. The way she did it after small arguments. The way she always made me feel like it was my fault, like I owed her. I didn't confront her. I just documented everything. screenshots, timestamps, exported statements to a USB and hid it inside a fake shaving cream canister I ordered that night off Amazon. Yes, those exist. And yes, I've officially become the guy who hides USB drives like I'm in a spy movie. But it didn't stop there. 3 days later, I went to the hardware store Maureen mentioned. I didn't know what I was looking for. I told myself I just needed to see the guy. Needed to put a face to the phantom who had been circling my wife while I folded her laundry and reheated her leftover takeout. I stood outside, pretending to look at a flyer for a paint sale, waiting for someone tall with a navy pea coat to walk out. But no one did. Instead, I walked inside, made up some lie about needing a replacement part for a broken shower head, and casually asked the older guy behind the counter if someone named Ramona had been by lately. He squinted. Ramona, tall girl, black jacket, tattoos on her wrist? My mouth went dry. Yeah, I seen her, he nodded. She's with Curtis. Comes by time to time, always laughing about something. They buy rope and utility knives like it's a damn scavenger hunt. My stomach turned. Curtis who? He shrugged. Curtis Shepard, I think. Works back in loading dock. Good guy. Quiet. Weird eyes. I froze. Shepard. My last name is Clint Shepard. I stumbled backward out of that store like the air had been sucked out of it. My mind spiraled in 10 directions at once. Curtis Shepard? Same last name. Coincidence? Or something much worse? I called Maureen on the spot. Do you know a Curtis Shepard? I asked, barely getting the words out. There was a pause. Then she said, Holy sh**t. I asked again, louder this time. Who is he? She inhaled sharply. Clint, that's your cousin. Your second cousin. Your dad's brother's kid. You met him at the funeral. He showed up late. Tall guy. Weird stare. Remember? I felt physically ill. I hadn't seen Curtis since I was maybe 10. We weren't close. My family splintered after my uncle went to prison in 2003. Something about fraud and identity theft, and I never followed up. Curtis was the kind of guy you remembered vaguely, like a shadow that moved once in your childhood. But now, that shadow had wrapped itself around my wife. My wife. Was it on purpose? Did she know who he was? Was this just the most catastrophic coincidence in human history, or was it part of some twisted long game I still didn't understand? I checked Facebook that night. Ramona didn't have Curtis added. No tagged posts. No photos. But when I looked at his profile, what little of it wasn't locked. I found it. One photo. From 2 months ago. A blurry shot of a woman's leg. Bare, smooth, stretched across the passenger seat of a car. The caption read, You never forget the dangerous ones. And I recognized the tattoo on her ankle immediately. A tiny snake curling around a crescent moon. I paid for it. On our 3rd anniversary. I was shaking again. Not out of rage. Not sadness. Not even betrayal. This time, it was disgust. Deep, bone-chilling disgust. Because Ramona hadn't just chosen someone else. She had chosen someone from my bloodline. And that meant this wasn't just cheating. This was targeted. I didn't sleep the night I found out about Curtis. I just sat in the living room in complete silence. The kind of silence that feels like a noise itself. Thick, heavy, charged. There's something deeply unnatural about discovering that the person who shares your bed is not only lying to you, not only planning your replacement, but doing it with your own blood. A cousin I hadn't seen in over 2 decades. Someone who probably saw me as an easy mark. And maybe I had been, until now. But it wasn't about pain anymore. Not even about betrayal. It was about finishing the story on my terms. The next morning, I made coffee for both of us. Ramona came down in her robe like nothing was wrong. Hair in a bun, scrolling through her phone. She looked up and gave me a smile I'd seen 1,000 times. The one she used when she was already lying. It didn't hurt anymore. It looked pathetic now. Small. I need to talk to you, I said, calmly, setting her cup down. She raised an eyebrow, but shrugged. Sure. What's up? I pulled out the folder I'd prepped the night before. Neatly organized. Printed. Labeled. I laid out screenshots of her secret accounts, photos of her and Curtis, timestamps, the burner phone records, and yes, even a copy of her own text messages, retrieved from a data backup she thought was deleted. Her face didn't change for 5 seconds. Then it cracked. Clint, she started. No, I said. Calm. Firm. Not angry. No more lies. No gaslighting. No blame shifting. You don't get to spin this. Not this time. She stared at the evidence like it was a foreign language. I could see the panic rising behind her eyes, but I didn't care. This wasn't for her. This was for me. I've already filed, I continued. I spoke to a lawyer. Everything's in motion. You won't get the chance to drain anything else. The joint accounts have been frozen. The lawyer has the files. I have witnesses. You don't win here. Ramona tried to talk, something about needing to explain, but I stood up. I'm not interested in your version of the story, I said. You had a good man. You buried him under your games. That's on you. And then I left. Just like that. No yelling. No pleading. No begging her to stay, or explain, or cry for me. I just walked out of that house, into the morning sun, into a life that didn't belong to her anymore. 3 months later, I moved into a small apartment overlooking a lake. Nothing fancy, just quiet, clean, peaceful. I started sleeping again. I started living again. I signed up for therapy. I reconnected with old friends. I took long walks without checking my phone. I stopped wondering what she was doing. Stopped caring what she'd say to others. People like Ramona always rewrite the past, but I was no longer living in it. Maureen and I stayed in touch. Not romantically, not yet, but we met for coffee sometimes. She told me Petra had finally cut ties with Ramona too, after she found out Ramona had lied to her about 2 other friends as well. Turns out, I wasn't the only person she tried to manipulate and isolate. I was just the easiest target. But not anymore. One morning, Maureen showed up at my door with a small envelope. Found this in my glove box, she said. I forgot I even had it. Inside was the note I'd found under my dinner plate that night. You're not the only one, Clint. I smiled. Because she was right. I wasn't the only one who'd been lied to. But more importantly, I wasn't the only one who had gotten out. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like winning.